The kick is up. It looks like it's going to be short. Oh my goodness, it goes! Brady Leinster!
Holy
Are
cow.
you kidding me?
What a
Knocks
kick.
it from 55 yards to win the game.
Welcome into the Week 2 recap here for the OUA show. Connor R. O'Neill, Wade Zank on social media. Welcome in, Connor. Quite a good weekend. Depending on what side of the games you were on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess depending on what side of the games you are, but if you're in the stands, if you're a fan, another week of exciting football. What a weekend it was. Windsor, this is where we're starting. It's already the opening clip of the episode. Windsor walking it off in the nation's capital to stay undefeated 2-0 at the start of the year with an 18-15 win over the Carleton Ravens, who played a very damn good football game in this one, might I say.
Until the fourth quarter.
Until the fourth quarter, they got blanked.
I guess halfway through the third quarter. 5 2-and-outs by the Carleton Ravens, Connor, in the fourth quarter out of 6 drives. The other one had 7 plays in it, but they only netted 25 yards and still had to punt. So, yes, it was effective in killing some clock, but Connor, a ton of punts, a ton of stalled drives, and when you're playing a team like Windsor that wears you out physically, you can't hang on forever.
No. And Carleton's defense, as good as they did play, 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, you're right. They were on the field a lot. And by that fourth quarter, maybe they were a little bit gassed. Who knows? But, Windsor stepped up, got it done. You can't ask your defense to hold on forever, like you're saying. But boy, did Carleton's defense do their damnedest.
Yeah, and there's a lot of drop passes. Like I would like to laud Elijah Barnes, Connor, because I think he played a hell of a football game.
Yes.
His first real start in U Sports going against a very schematically tough and overly physical defense in Windsor. 208 yards, a touchdown, 50 on the ground, but there's a lot of drop passes and one that could have iced the game out into the flats. The H-back kind of looked up as he went to catch the ball and go upfield, and it cost them dearly. But yeah, I think all praise has to go to Carleton's defense for this one. But you certainly walk away from that one if you're a Ravens fan, alumnus, supporter, and you kind of go, damn, we had it. We had it. And does that propel you because you can say, look how closely we played Windsor? Or does that break you down because of, damn, we had that and we let it slip away? How does that team respond?
It's going to be interesting to see as we continue on with the season. I'm sure the fans are left wanting more. I'm sure the team is left wanting more, but I really do hope that, this is a driving force for them. Like you're saying, they go back, they look at the film, they're like, okay, we retool one thing here, we retune one thing there. And, maybe next time we're on the winning end of a tight matchup like this. So
yeah,
really, really fun game. Really great matchup between Windsor and Carleton in this one. Moving on though, where do you want to move to? Because there is some other really good ball games in the OUA.
Let's move to your alma mater, the Ottawa GGs, who look to rebound from their week 1 loss. They had to travel to the York Lions in Connor.
Yep.
If I told you this was 7-4 at half last year, Ottawa playing York, would you have believed me?
I'd say no way. I'd say absolutely no way, but that was certainly the case in this one. These York Lions and Coach Dexter Janke's Lions, really impressive first half from them.
Yeah, and I mean the other side of the ball to me was the more shocking one. Ben Miracle coming off of obviously his knee injury last year for Ottawa, but Connor, inaccuracy, and it limited and hamstrung the GG's offense to the point where they took the coaching points that we had kind of suggested last week a little too literally in the give Charles Asselin the ball.
30
carries. Now, he did
made
have
the most of them.
186 yards. Yeah, he had a phenomenal game. But in terms of how it affects your team, York started to tee off in the second, third, and fourth quarter because they knew you're going to hand the ball to Charles. You're going to hand it to him again. If we get you into 2nd and 9, we probably have you punting the ball. I really shocked at the inaccuracies in the passing game. But Charles Asselin is a dog.
Oh my goodness, man.
Let's
That
talk a bit
he
about
for
York,
me.
though.
Yeah. One more point on Charles Asselin, because you're right. He was a dog. He was the driving force in this offense. I think if they can find a way to get it to more of a 55-50, 60-40 type balance. I still think, Charles Asselin needs to be the feature player for
Oh,
this GG's offense. But if you can balance it out a little bit more, just so that teams aren't going, okay, you're going to run the ball. We know this. We dare you to try to throw it. But yeah, let's talk about these York Lions. Their defense played, all things considered, I thought their defense played really, really well. I think Peyton Ryder is the guy that I want to highlight in this one for the York defense, because he had a heck of a game. 5 tackles, 9 assists, all over the field. Was kind of the leader of this defense in terms of play on the field in this one for me.
yeah, and let's talk a bit about the York quarterback. That's the one I kind of want to talk about, Matt Lynn, because he
Yeah.
comes in from Waterloo, transfers to an OUA school, and there's Sean Ball who transfers in behind him from obviously by way of Guelph, but he played in the CJ last year. So with this theme of overhauling your roster with these experienced players, they use a young guy in Lynn, and he was scrambling around. Some of his throws were off and incomplete, but he was really stressing the GG's defense at the start. And like we talked about with the lack of film, you kind of felt like Ottawa kind of took a step back and went, whoa, what's going on? And credit to them for rebounding and shutting them out in the second half. But I thought Matt Lynn was moving this offense with a good pace, certainly trying to spread it out and get athletes in space is their game plan, and he fits right into that.
I think there's a lot to be excited here with York. If you're a Lions fan, I think there's a lot to be excited. Once this team starts getting clicking, I think we're gonna see a little bit of a different Lions. But on the subject of the quarterback position, we had a duel that one particular person took over, but we had a duel going into this one. Alex Freakin, Keegan Hall, the Queens Gales, the McMaster Marauders. We expected both of these teams to throw the ball. The Marauders certainly did that. Queens, they went with what you were thinking. We talked about it in the preview. You said give the ball to Jared Chisari. Did they ever do that? My goodness, Queens coming away with a 27-22 win off the back of their lead back, who went for 191 and 3, averaging 7.1 yards a carry in this one. Jared Chisari, take a bow.
Yeah, I had someone text me, I think Queens ran counter the entire game. I said, yeah, they probably did. But no, like you mentioned, this had the chance to be a quarterback duel, but with Queens not having the success they wanted last week, throwing the ball against Windsor, I think they kind of went back into that, okay, let's get into the win column with what works for us. And what works for the Golden Gales is running the football. And Jazz Caria comes back. He's missed a lot of time over the last 2 seasons with some injuries. But Connor, he shores up their offensive line. That left tackle spot was comfortable. They ran behind it a lot all game. Whether he was sealing or he was kicking down and blocking out defensive linemen, he was stout in that role. And Cesare is a man that's possessed. You lose a game the next week, you probably don't want to line up in front of him because you might get taken out. And 3 touchdowns early in the game, I was kind of sitting there thinking like, oh, if they keep pounding this ball at him, is he going to end up with 4, 5, 6 touchdowns? Like, how does this work? He was the focal point. He will be the focal point again this week when they play. This is the Chisari led offense with a really good quarterback sitting behind, waiting to make plays.
I agree. Now, I do want to flip this around and give some props here to the Marauders, because they came out, despite Queens exploding in the first half, Mac really came out and controlled this game in the second half. They blanked Queens in the third quarter, held them to 3 points in the fourth quarter, put up 15 of their own in the second half, 14 in that fourth quarter. Keegan Hall was doing his best to try to get them back into this game, to try to put them in positions to win this game. Rips a 57-yard ball down the field to set them up for a Lucas Baresi plunge in for the 1 yard score from short distance there. And then Mac, dying seconds of the game, driving this one, looking like they might put themselves in position to win this ball game. Queens' defense comes up huge pace with the fumble recovery to seal the game for Queens. But man, Mac in the second half, despite how the game ended for them, I really am impressed by the fact that they didn't get rattled by a 24-point first half from the Gales, and they came back out and took control in the second half of this ball game.
And you know what? Like, it went from 24-0 to, I guess, 27 to 13, and then they mount that 9 points and make it really close. And if you take out, I think, what, 1/4 of each of these games for McMaster to start the year, their season could be completely different. And
They could be
as you
10-0
kind
team.
of, yeah, and as you kind of make your way back from a dark spot in your program, a dark spot, they didn't make the playoffs. That's a dark spot for them. But as you kind of make your way back from that, you have to relearn how to win games. You and I have talked about this at length over the last 4 years of doing this. You have to learn how to win football games. And with Keegan Hall at the helm, they haven't really done that. They've been really talented, and he is phenomenal. And 350 yards against a really good secondary and pass rush is a credit to that. But learning how to win games and play a full 60 minutes is something the next team we're going to talk about has learned how to do phenomenally. But Mac is close. And as you look ahead in their schedule, okay, well, we're already through with Queens. We're already through with Laurier. Well, there's 2 of the top 4 programs in the province, 2 of the top 10 nationally ranked teams. Everything should be up from there, right? Like, this team can probably finish 5-3.
I would agree, man. I would absolutely agree. I think that there's positivity on the horizons for this McMaster football team. I think it's just like you're saying, learning to play and learning to win all 4 quarters. You alluded to a team that has learned to do that. They are sitting 2-0. Is that a bird? Is that a plane? No, it is Marshall McRae making his way into the end zone as he absolutely leaps over a defender. The Guelph Griffins getting a 47-10 victory in Toronto. Great game for the Griffins.
Yeah, this was Tristan Abood show. I know you mentioned Marshall McRae, but Connor, Abood goes 21 of 28, so we'll call it 70 plus %, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a 20-yard rushing yard touch, or a 20-yard rushing touchdown. Connor, Abood, the dude, is back.
He is.
And they have the luxury.
Force.
They have the luxury of the added wrinkle of Marshall McRae, where you put him in the game and anything could happen.
Not to mention Caleb Sargent holding it down back there too. I mean, he can run the football.
Yeah, and it was a lot for me of getting these athletes like a Caleb Sargent in space. Like, I think he had 1 catch that he took for 20 yards. He finished with 32 or 36 on the day. But it was just like a quick little dump down after Abood had scanned the rest of the field. And he's able to turn it into an insanely positive play. Now, they've got a ton of guys. Arsenault, Tomas, Vachon, Ogilvy. Like, they have just playmaker after playmaker. And Abood knows it's like that 1 A to C piece that we talk about with Coach Falls and Laurier. And the quarterback's just the B for that. And Abood is starting to do that. 554 yards of total offense. They cruised. And Toronto, O'Donoghue looked like he's a young quarterback. 12 completions, 130 yards, and an interception. Obviously, the touchdown from Jake Osteen on the double reverse was kind of the splash play that they had, but lot of self-inflicted wounds with Toronto, missed snaps, missed passes. So Guelph came out hot. We knew they were going to. Sold out Varsity Stadium, 46,000 seats. So that was definitely a plus for the DA era. But no, you were right. This is a McRae Abood showcase that we're ready to move on with.
Absolutely. Absolutely great game from the Griffins. Defensive player, I just want to throw one in here. Eunice Larry, what a unit. What a game. 7 tackles, 2 sacks. My word. You said O'Donoghue had a tough day. It is a tough day when you have a guy like that that's just in your face all game long. Do you want to move on to the last game in this slate, though? The Western Mustangs taking on the Waterloo Warriors. A sizable win for the Mustangs in this one, 71-3. Evan Hillock had a day.
Hold up.
The run game had a day.
Before we talk about anything, shout out to the Western Mustangs offensive line, because they didn't just have 1, not 2, not 3. Get my LeBron thing going. Not 4, not 5. They had 6 damn rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
And yeah, Evan Hillock threw for 4 touchdowns. But Connor, 6 rushing
touchdowns.
And it was guy after guy. Edwards, Dalby, Phillips, Rancor had a couple. Keanu Yazbek got involved. Like, it was every single person imaginable that touched the damn football seemed to have a rushing touchdown. Of course, usual suspects. Mo Jamal, Seth Robertson got 2 of Hillock's 4. But shout out to this offensive line, Connor. They had one heck of a game. No sacks given up, right? They had a ton of passing yardage. They had a ton of rushing yardage. This is Western through and through.
Oh man, just to highlight your point about the Western offensive line. You mentioned the no sacks given up. That's absolutely huge. But listen to the rushing averages of everybody that touched the football here for the Western Mustangs. Keon Edwards averaging 8 yards a carry. Ethan Dolby averaging 7 yards a carry. Marcel Phillips averaging 7.5 yards a carry. Jerome Rancourt, 10.7 yards a carry. Keanu Yazbek, 6.2 yards a carry.
Yeah, and then we get the 2.
He had 1 carry. He goes for 28 yards, but of those who had significant carries, they did not have a ball carrier under 6 yards a carry. Keanu Yazbek with 6.2 was the lowest, which is very damn good. Super impressive day running the football for the Mustangs.
And you know what? We said last week, the one thing we wanted to see from Western was red zone efficiency, red zone offense. And we said it would just take time. Well, they had their time, and in true Western fashion, they pile up the score, but they don't do it with the lead dogs doing all the work. Like, Keon touched the ball 9 times. Dalby touched it 8. Keanu Yazbek had 5 carries. Like, they did not just hammer away with the same guy, Connor. They put in as far down the depth chart as they could, and the results were still the same.
Western does what Western does, and that is run the football and win football games. And they certainly did that this weekend. That wraps it up for the week 2 recap. Week 3 is coming at us fast, man. We are cruising along the OUA football season to start the year here. That does it for us for this recap episode, but we do still have our preview stuff coming out later this week. So keep it locked to at CF Perspective, at Connor R. O'Neill, at Wade Zank on social media. And do not forget to tune in to OUA.tv. It's not just football. Everything you want to watch, OUA.tv for free. You can even go back and watch games on demand. Please sign up for OUA.tv to support all these great student athletes and organizations. That does it for this episode, and we will catch you later this week.